This video is about the differences between the SAT and the ACT. I'll be going over the two different tests, and hopefully this information can be used to help decide which test to take. To start off, I'll actually talk about what they have in common. So the two are both standardized tests, and colleges view both equally, which means they won't value one over the other. Both of the tests test on math and English, and they both have optional essay sections. The length of the two tests are around the same, around 3 hours without the essay, but with the essay, the SAT is closer to 4 hours, and the ACT is closer to 3 hours and 40 minutes. Now, onto the differences, the SAT is scored on a scale from 400 to 1600, while the ACT is scored on a scale from 1 to 34. The SAT only has two sections, math and reading. Both sections have a maximum score of 800, and the scores from the two sections added up equals your total score. The ACT is a bit different. The ACT also has 4 sections, however, each has its own score: English, math, reading, and science. Each section has a score from 1 to 34, and the average of these 4 scores makes up your total composite score of 34. Another thing to note is that generally speaking, the ACT is not curved. This means that your score is not dependent on how well others do. The only slight curving the ACT might do is to fix slight fluctuations in difficulty. However, this is often insignificant, and the score you receive is essentially just the raw score. The SAT, on the other hand, curves its scores based on how difficult the test is. So if the test is easier, more points will be needed to score a perfect 800 in this section. However, if it's harder, less points will be needed to score an 800. Now, this may lead you to think that the SAT is easier, but this is not true. Neither test is going to be easier than the other, and some students may be more comfortable with taking one over the other, but that is just different for everyone. Both tests are difficult, and there's no clear advantage of taking one over the other. Now, ever since the SAT changes in 2016, the content in the English and math sections in the two tests have become somewhat similar. A difference, though, is that the ACT has a science section, which the SAT does not. However, this science section does not test on specific science skills and knowledge. Instead, it tests on skills more along the lines of reasoning, interpretation, and logic. Now, moving on to the optional essay portion, the SAT essay will give you a prompt and will ask you to analyze the author's argument and how the author builds that argument. Your essay is scored by 2 scorers who will each give you a score from 1 to 4 on 3 separate sections: reading, writing, and analysis. That means your total essay score will be a sum of 3 scores from each section, each ranging from 2 to 8, and your total score will be on a scale from 6 to 24. For the ACT, you'll be given a prompt in which you'll be asked to write your own argument and also analyze how your perspective compares to someone else's provided perspective. Your essay is also scored by 2 readers, but each reader will give you a score from 1 to 6, and you will receive a total score from 2 to 12. Now, on the question of whether you should take the essay portion or not, the answer for both tests is not a clear-cut yes or no. This would fall on you to do specific research on if the schools you're interested in require or recommend you take the essay portion. Even if the school doesn't require it, but will still consider your essay score, getting a good score on the essay can only help your admission chances.